A long time ago, in a place far away from where we are now, but also very close to us, there was a horrible crime committed. A crime so bad it shocked the whole nation. Even now, years later, people still whisper about it with fear in their voices. This happened right here in this house. But with that said, let's go back to that day so long ago when everything changed. It was the kind of summer day that makes you never want to go back inside once you've stepped out into the warm sunshine. The kind of day when shorts and t-shirts and flip-flops were mandatory attire. The kind of day when a swim in the sea feels like the only logical course of action. And so it was for the family living in this house all those years ago. They were the Smiths, a typical middle-class family, mom, dad, and their 2 children, Billy and Lucy. Billy was the older one by 3 years and had just started high school, while Lucy was starting to become aware of boys and all the attention they brought with them. They were very happily in love, those 2, much to the annoyance of their parents, who thought they should be spending more time doing other things. Oh, yes, parents have always been like this, haven't they? They just don't understand how important your first love is when you're a teenager. So it was that on that perfect summer day, the 2 teens decided that they would get away from it all and sneak off to the beach for a day of sun, sand, swimming, and, of course, kissing. While the rest of the family was at home enjoying the peace and quiet, Billy and Lucy made their way to the beach, hand in hand, unable to stop smiling. How could anything possibly ruin such a perfect day? There were others who might have wanted to ruin it, though. People who were not quite so innocent and whose intentions towards the 2 young lovers were far from pure. But Billy and Lucy were blissfully unaware of this as they made themselves comfortable on the warm sand. The salty air and the sound of the waves crashing into the shore, washing away all of their cares and concerns. All too soon, though, it was time to go home. Billy and Lucy didn't want to. They could have stayed there all day, but their mom had told them that she would be making their favorite meal that night, and they couldn't let her down. So hand in hand once more, they walked away from the beach and the sea, eager to get home as quickly as possible. They didn't see the car following them. They didn't see the men inside watching them. They didn't hear the low voices plotting their doom. No, they were too young and too happy for such thoughts. And so they continued on, talking about the fun they'd had and making plans for the next day. Billy opened the front door and went inside. Lucy lingered for a moment on the doorstep, pretending to be interested in a pebble she'd found, but she was really waiting for Billy to go inside and switch on the lights. When the room was dark, she knew she was safe, or so she thought. As she finally stepped across the threshold and into the house, something struck her as odd. It was the silence. Usually, the house was filled with noise. The TV was on, Dad was whistling in the kitchen, or her mom was singing along to the radio. But now, it was deathly silent. It sent shivers down her spine. She called out for her parents, but there was no answer. She tried to switch on the lights, but nothing happened. Either the electricity was off or someone had turned off the circuit breaker. She felt around for the door handle, touched it, then screamed. Her hand was covered in blood. She ran to the kitchen, flung open the door, and screamed again when she saw what was inside. On the floor lay her parents, their eyes wide with terror, their mouths open as if in mid-scream. Their skin was as white as snow, their faces contorted in expressions of sheer horror. Lucy couldn't believe what she was seeing. She didn't know what to do. Then, as if emerging from a nightmare, Billy appeared behind her. He too looked scared, his face pale and drawn. "What happened?" he whispered, his voice shaking. Lucy turned to him, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know," she cried. "I just got home and this is what I found." Billy helped her to her feet, and together they called out for help. But when it came, it was too late. Their parents were not alive. The police arrived and cordoned off the house. Soon, There were more police cars than Lucy had ever seen in her life outside the station. It seemed that everyone was trying to talk at once. An officer knelt down beside her. His face was kind and he spoke to her softly, asking her questions and trying to calm her down. But Lucy couldn't calm down. All she kept thinking about was what she had seen when she first stepped back inside the house. The silence, the lack of light, and the bodies. They took Billy and Lucy away from the house to a safe place where they could talk to the police without other people listening in. It was here that the full weight of what had happened to them really hit home. They were alone. They were all grown-ups now. They would have to deal with this, but how? They were only kids. The police never did find out who had done this terrible thing to the Smith family. They never found out why it had been done. There were theories, of course, and rumors spread like wildfire through the town. Some said that a gang had come to the wrong house. Others said it was someone they knew, someone who had a grudge against them. Still others said it was a random, senseless act of violence. But the truth was never discovered, and the case remains unsolved to this day. Lucy and Billy grew up and moved away. They tried to put the past behind them, but the memories remained. The nightmares never stopped. For years after, whenever the news reported on some terrible crime or other, Lucy and Billy cowered, remembering the helplessness they had felt when they realized their parents weren't alive. Whenever the phone rang, they jumped. They had been interviewed countless times by the press, and every time they heard the doorbell ring, they wondered if it was the police with news of a breakthrough. It never was. And eventually, the media circus surrounding the murders moved on to the next big story, leaving Lucy and Billy to pick up the pieces and try to move on with their lives. But the shadow of that day still hung over them like a shroud. And so it is that, even now, many years later, people still whisper about what happened to the Smith family, wondering who did such a terrible thing and why. And as for Lucy and Billy, well, they live in constant fear that one day the nightmares will end and it will happen again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to leave me a comment below. And if you want to hear more stories like this one, then subscribe and join me on my journey to bring these creepy tales to a wider audience. Until next time, stay safe. You never know who or what might be watching,